So hello everyone, I'm Trent Blizzard, and I am with GeoForager. My wife Kristen is also on here. She's in the chat, answering questions, not on the camera. And today I want to talk a little bit about GeoForager and how you can use it to find mushrooms. Now, if that's okay with you, I'd like to talk just a little bit about GeoForager itself and kind of how we got started. And then I'll run through some of the features to help you use it, and then kind of talk about strategies and how you use it to really find mushrooms. So Kristen and I started burn barrel hunting like 8 or 9, 10 years ago, and we started making these maps, and then we were sharing them with our friends, and more people wanted them. So we started, and we're web designers, so we built a little online map and shared it. And then we started offering it as a subscription, very much just a hobby. It's something we love doing. Um, and we got more and more people that wanted to subscribe and wanted to use our maps. And they were for burn barrels, and we added more and more stuff to them. And really last year, we decided that we could use these maps to really find all kinds of mushrooms, just not burn morels. That there was really a need for foragers to have special types of things going on with their maps to help them find mushrooms. So we've endeavored to build that. We're about halfway through with our build list. We do have a lot of cool new features planned in the next couple months that will also help you find mushrooms. But we've really hit a nice spot here where they're currently pretty helpful. So I'm going to walk you through those today. Um, Now the new ones, the new mushroom maps are at GeoForager instead of Modern Forager, and they come with an annual subscription. One of the differences is now when you purchase it, it's good for 12 months. So if you bought it June 1st, you'll be able to get all the information up through May next year. So it's a true annual subscription, and we release all the burn morel overlays and information usually mid-February, sometime in the second half of February. And we'll do that next year too. So right now you're looking at my kind of burn morale map here, or my map. And I guess to start off, it's to say we also have this year, we have apps. We have an Android app, and we have an iOS app, and then we have the web version. I'm going to be on the web version a lot today because it's easier in Zoom, but I'll pop over to the iPhone app as well and show you how to use that as part of this presentation. Let's see here. This is after you've logged in, and you're a paid subscriber, so you have all the functionality in here to use. And I want to walk you through the different things that are on the screen here. First of all, in the upper right-hand corner, you have your initials, and you can customize this with a picture. And if you click on it, it's going to open up and give you information to your subscriptions, to offline maps, which I'm going to talk about. You can edit your profile, update your kind of information about you. View map to go look at the map. You can also request a feature here. This is new. We'd love to have you request things you want to see. Specifically, we have a lot of tree maps. I think we have maybe 35 now. If there's tree species you want to see in here, let us know. We're adding new maps all the time, and we'd love to hear your feedback. And you can also report a bug. This is a great feature. If something happens weird that feels like a bug, right after it happens, if you come report a bug, it will email us kind of your log files on what happened in your computer or your phone, and we can try to fix it so it doesn't happen again. So I'm going to click View Map, and come back to the main map view. I'm on my desktop, so I can kind of zoom in and zoom out. And over here we have base maps, and we have overlays. And I want to just real quick, I'm going to pop over to the iOS version of this. Give me a second here. It takes me just a minute to do that. Okay, here's the iOS version now. Hopefully you can see that okay on your screens. It's a cell phone sized version. And over here, that has a few different buttons available to you. You have this button right here, which is the overlay button. It's going to give you all the overlays that go on top of the map. This is the base map icon. And the base map is going to offer us the one map that is at the base that things go on top of. And we'll come look at those in a second. And then this right here is the save offline feature. Now, just so you can see over here, also in your iPhone, is this fun little feature right here. I think we're going to make that a little bigger for people because it doesn't seem like people know it's there. That will take you to where you are on the map. So I'm going to pop out of this. Give me just a second to clear out of that and share back into the other screen. Okay. Now, when you're in here and you click this button, it's gonna, perhaps ask permission. I don't know if you see that pop up here, but it's asked permission to zoom in and show you where I am right now. I stopped the zoom, but now as you are out in the world on your maps, you can see where you are on the map. So that's a handy feature that will stay there now that I've turned it on. But also over here we have what I mentioned before, the base maps. So a base map, you can only pick one. This is a street view map. We have outdoor view, which is real topographical, and we have satellite view. And then we have the kind of same thing repeated again. We have Google Street View, Google Terrain View, Google Satellite View. So we have alternate maps for you to choose from, and then we have a couple Forest Service topo type maps. CalTopo, don't be alarmed, has some big black spots in it, and that's because CalTopo, this map is only about where the Forest Service land is. So all the black areas are private land that don't have kind of Forest Service representation, and they're not on this map. But this is if I zoom in, you can see it's a pretty detailed map. Here's Crescent Lake. It has a lot of campgrounds and roads and topography. The Esri topo map is going to do the same thing. It's going to have these roads and topography. And so is the Forest Service topo map, which is pretty nice too. So you've got some pretty informative maps to choose from here on kind of based on what you need. And that's base map, and you can only load one, and that's the bottom map, the base map. So that's important to keep in mind because I'm gonna shrink that down and leave it on Street View. And then I'm gonna pop over here and show you we have all these overlays. So the overlays are where you pick what matters to you. And initially, we have a lot of fire overlays. I don't want to get too deep into the fire overlays because we have so much else to look at here. But if you click into one, and anytime you click on one of these little carrots, it opens up and gives you more options. So this is the 2024 wildfires, which is what we hunt in 2025. So that's this year's wildfires in terms of hunting. And you can turn them on, and we'll let that run for a second while it loads it up. And you can see now on the map, you have all these fire perimeters. But if you hit this little down button here, this little caret, you can always open these up. I want to point out there's some good controls in here, including opacity. You can select the state. We're in Oregon now, but if you want to see California fires, pick California. And then you can select whether you want to see all the fires in the state or whether you want to see just the A-rated fires. And those are the ones that I've gone through and I've rated and said these are the best fires. The B fires can be pretty good too. This is probably not the best time to get into the A and the B and rating and why we do it. But as a burn morale hunter, if you're just starting, you probably want to focus on these A-rated fires. And again, if you come up here and pick California, we're going to go down and it's going to give us the California A-rated fires. And if you zoom in on these, notice there's no perimeters. That's only because I have the opacity turned down. So the opacity will take anything you're looking at and turn it up and down. Whoops. Let me zoom back out. Here's a fire that doesn't have a marker on it, and that's because it's not A rated. It might be B rated. Let's see if that pops it. Nope, still not there. It might be C rated, or it might be unrated because it's really bad. So there's all of them in California. So that's how you navigate these. Don't forget these opacity sliders. They're pretty handy when you want to start loading up multiple overlays. Now, I'm going to go back and go to Oregon because that's where we are. And I think that's where a lot of the people in the chat said they were from too. And I'm just going to pick A-rated fires to keep it easy. And I'm going to zoom in on a fire that maybe I'm interested in. Let's see here. This fire right here, I think this fire is really interesting. This is the 208 MF fire. If you click on it, things will pop up and give you information. Now that's a feature in here. As you turn on overlays, you'll get different information on the pop-up. Immediately on click, you will get a long lat of that spot in case you want to save it and do something with it. You can just click this little copy button right here, and you can copy that long lat and paste it into a chat or do more with it. It will also tell you the elevation of where you clicked. In this case, there was a range where I clicked. It wasn't a small enough point. So it's about 2,800 feet right there where I clicked. And it's weird. It gives you the soil temperature. Why the heck does it give you the soil temperature of 60 degrees today? Well, if I go back here and I go back into all of my, I'm gonna start again here and come back in. I think under soil, I must have had that on at the time. So that's why it gave me that. Now it's off. So anything you have on can potentially have more information when you click on the screen. So we were looking at the wildfires. I'll turn that back on. And we also have morel probability in here, which you can turn on, and then you can raise up the opacity up and down and kind of make it more prominent or less prominent. And there's a key over here on the left. There's also a burn severity. And this is an interesting thing. Watch this. I'm going to turn on burn severity, and it's on high opacity. It covered up morel probability because I just turned it on. If you're like, oh, I want morel probability to be on top so that I can, it doesn't matter now because it's on the bottom. It doesn't matter if you turn that opacity up. Just toggle it on and off, and that will bring that to the top. The most recent thing you've turned on rises to the top of the search. And then if you want, you can lower the opacity and you can see what's beneath it, which is the second layer, the burn severity layer. So if you're trying to kind of manipulate different layers to see different things, you can turn opacities up and down, and you can bring them to the front and to the back based on the order that you have turned them on. Now, I'm going to back out of that. I think the other way to bring things to the front that you want to see a lot, I'm going to pop down into precipitation. Precipitation is I think one of the major advantages of this app, and it's also an area that is one of the most visited by our users. Because what this will allow you to see is historical precipitation. So let me back out here and we'll look at a bigger slice of the country, and you can turn on the last 7 days. We're going to give it a second. It's a lot of data. And we're going to see across the west here where the rain fell in the last 7 days. Now I zoomed out because I already knew that Oregon did not have much rain. But out here, oh, look, you can't tell where it is. Well, look, just pop into this and lower that down just a smidge, so you can see behind it. And you're going to be like, oh, Montana got a lot. Wyoming, eastern Wyoming, got a lot of rain. Down here in Colorado, there were parts. So you can find those rainy areas and go, oh, this is going to probably be some good morel hunting in the future because they got a lot of rain. And you might wonder, how much rain? Well, click on it. We'll just give it a click. Oh, it didn't do it. We'll give it a sec. Let me zoom in a little more. And it should pop up, and it's not going to do it now, of course. Yeah, a little more. Might just take a minute. We're just going to let that sit for just a second. And I think what should happen is the precipitation. There it is. The last 7 days. It took a while for that data to get in here. Got 1.6 inches here in the last 7 days. And it will even show you when each day the rains came. A quarter inch, 0.28 of an inch, no inch on the 14th. 0.84 inches on the 15th. So you can get pretty cool historical data in here, whether it's 7 days of rain, 3 days of rain, 24 hours of rain. It really depends on what you need as a mushroom hunter. Because I think, as you know, some mushrooms require rain over a longer period of time. Others really respond to a big rain more recently. The other kind of unique thing in here to use is this snow depth, which will show you where there's still snow. This is supposed to be accurate like to today. It's updated every day. And you can see here in Mount Rainier National Park, there's still a lot of snow up there. And here is Mount St. Helens. So it's really these mountaintops. Let me come down like in here that are just covered with snow. And if you're like, oh, well, we can turn that up and turn that down, and you can see which, that's the Three Sisters Wilderness there, the Three Sisters that still have a lot of snow. And if you're trying to get on the edges of snowmelt to find morels or find spring porcinis or things like that. This is a really clever map. Now, if I went up and looked at that wildfire map, I can right now go look and see the areas that still have snow on them and know like, oh, I'm going to want to go there in a few weeks. Or maybe look where there's still snow and say, I want to come down 500 to 1,000 feet below that snow line. And that's where I'm going to start my searches in this dry weather. Um, the other way that we use snow is when I'm working through the season, I often take screenshots so I can see where was the snow a month ago versus where is it now, so I can kind of monitor. Because the reality is with morels is I want to hunt where the snow disappeared 3 or 4 or 5 weeks ago. So sometimes it's helpful to have a snapshot saved. So that's snow depth. And if you're like, oh, that's one of my favorites, I want to use this a lot, you can favorite it. And you can favorite the last 7 days. I like that one a lot too. And once you do that, now you have a favorites layer up here where you can real quickly access the things you use a lot. So if you use this favorites, as I will today, you can kind of build out your best overlays and keep them handy. Okay, let's look at a few more overlays. That was precipitation. By the way, we do have, I think, some new, we'll have some cool precipitation data also coming in here over the next couple months. We have a few other pretty neat precipitation resources available to us to really provide great precipitation information. Now, if I scroll down here a little bit, I can also pop into the soil map and look at a related issue to precipitation is soil moisture. So let me zoom out again, and I can turn that on. And we use this to try to find the more moist spots. And these are generated using satellite imagery, and they have special light bands that they use on these satellites to calculate soil moisture holding patterns. I'm going to open that up, and you can see the what the colors mean. And again, same problem. Let me just do that, and you can see where these places are. So I'm going to bump that up again, and you can see there's a lot of green to the west of this line where it's running 30%. And to the right of this line, there's a lot of blue where it's drier. And any of you that know the area know that the western side of the Cascades, the eastern side of the Cascades tend to be a lot drier. And really, when you can find the moist spots over here, is where you're really going to find a lot of great mushrooms too. But it can also matter out here in the mountains, or if you want to come out and look in Idaho or Colorado. So that's a fun map, the soil moisture map. If you click on it, by the way, you'll get the same thing. If you're like, oh, what is the soil moisture right here north of McCall? And what it's going to give you is an average soil moisture for today. And it looks like yesterday too. So that's just an average over the course of the day. That's a little different now. We also have soil temperature, which is a similar sort of map, which we use a lot for morels and spring mushrooms because they're so sensitive to soil temperatures. Although I'm curious, as I start using this more and more in the fall, I have a hunch that the fall mushrooms are also going to be very responsive to soil temperatures, because it seems like in the spring, it's the rising temperatures that cause the mushrooms to flush. But in the fall, it's the falling temperatures that cause them to flush. So I think that will be interesting to see is these fall mushrooms, are they really responsive to soil temp? Because clearly morels are very responsive to soil temperatures, maybe more than any other factor. And I think spring porcinis are too, the way they so closely follow morels in so many habitats. Let's see if there's a question in here. What's the latency on the precip data? Example, 1 day. It's pretty, I think the precip data has latency mostly measured in minutes and hours. If you look at the last 24 hours, it populates really quick. So the longest latency will be 1 day. But I think a lot of this data is coming in, I don't want to say real time, but shockingly close to real time, coming in, hourly. They're doing a lot of updates. The other thing is, Rob, I think with a lot of this precip data and the soil temp and the soil moisture, it's a lot of algorithms in the cloud doing the calculations from a whole bevy of satellite data. So I think they're like constantly churning through the numbers and refining the data. So that makes it hard to say what's a latency. It probably differs in different places depending on where those cloud servers are focusing their algorithms in that minute. I wish I had a better answer for you, though. I do not. I will tell you, we do get the data from precip.ai, as we say right here in the map, for you. All right, let's see, what else do we have here? Let's go back. Those were closely related. Oh, just while we're in soil, I have serpentine soils, just a little aside for those of you. I saw Sacramento in the house here. Who is in Sacramento here? You may want to pay attention to this. There is this serpentine soil in Southern Oregon and Northern California, which is going to be a no-go for morels and a lot of mushrooms. So I put this on here so that when I'm kind of scouting on maps, I know that these places are probably where I don't want to go hunt because the serpentine soils are not good for morels. Okay. Oh, Kristen, it looks like you got the precipitation data answered in there. I wonder how close I was in my answer. Okay, so that was precipitation, and we looked at soil. Um, let's look at a few more habitat-y sort of things before we look at the man-made stuff like logging. The next habitat area, and probably the second most popular after the precipitation, is going to be the trees. And watch out, you guys. There's a lot of data in here. This right here, this forest type is one of my all-time favorites. I use this a lot when I'm studying burns and where I'm going in burns and also for really any mushrooms that I'm traveling around into, especially areas I don't know. So what this is forest type is the federal government has broken out the forest across the continental US into something like 25 types, and here they are. And these are groups. So when you look at these groups, you're going to say that this brown here is going to be Doug fir. There it is, the Doug fir group. But there's a lot of things mixed in with Doug fir. There's hemlock, and there's cedar, and there's other types of true firs, blah blah blah. So this is a forest type, but then look at this switch. There's this change here. It goes from brown to like salmon colored. And that salmon color is fir, spruce, mountain hemlock, which is fabulous. This is one of my favorite areas to hunt and to focus on. I do really like grand firs and white firs and Engelmann spruce. I really like this tree group personally. So I study this map, and I think it's really interesting to watch how these move in, and these little spots where these firs move into the mountains to the west are kind of interesting. And by the way, where I'm going to also be looking for like tomentosas for late morel hunts. And then next to that, we have this red. That's going to be the lodgepole pine type forest, which is great for a lot of things. We don't hunt those as much, but people say how great the tomentosas are in lodgepole pines and even other mushrooms, depending on where you are. The pines can be a popular place to hunt. Obviously, matsutake are big in the pines, and when we go into places like Wisconsin, the pine maps become really important to find matsutake. Certain types of boletes and chanterelles also prefer the pines. So we do like the pine map. And then we have the light tan in here, which is the ponderosa group, and that's also going to be a rich set of trees in the ponderosa group. Not just ponderosas. And then this dark brown, we never hunt that. That's the pinyon juniper group, but you get the idea. Very handy map. Whether you're in Oregon, where you have all these different groups, or you can study the maps in other states. And it's interesting as you travel across the landscape, these maps are kind of right on. You can tell the forest is different in this area. There's something fundamentally different in it, and they've captured that in these 25 forest types. Now, I think next for us on this list is we're going to allow you to select certain forest type groups, hopefully, and zoom in on them. But we're also we're working on a more detailed breakdown that I don't know when I'll have, sometime this summer or fall, of really hundreds of types of habitats that you can drill into. So that's forest type, and I say I'm going to favorite that because I use that a lot. But some other fun ones are going to be forest maturity. Forest maturity is a meta map of pulling in a whole bunch of different data, including some of these other canopy percentage and stand height. But basically, it helps you find mature forest. And down here, if you're looking for the blues and the greens, this is where you're going to find the biggest trees with the mature forest. So we like that one. We have the canopy percentage, which will just tell you how dense the canopy is. Um, Might as well turn that on and you can see what you're looking at there. Stand height will tell you how tall the trees are. I don't really use that one so much. Stand size will tell you, I think, how dense the tree is by the predominant tree, how big it is. I don't know really what we're going to do with this one yet either, but we have it in there. It's part of the tree data set. Now, the other half of the tree data set, or the other 4/5, is with species. So you can come up here, whether you're in the east or the west, and you can pick some tree species that you're going to find some of your favorite mushrooms on. There's a lot of morel trees in here, like the tulips and the ashes and the elms, but we also have a lot of different type of oaks, tan oaks, white oaks. I think we have red oaks and what Oregon white oak that you can find, different types of porcinis and maitakes and chanterelles and mushrooms like that. I think as people ask, we will continue adding more deciduous and coniferous tree types to this. Let me pop into the conifer type. Here those are. For instance, one of my favorite types to hunt is this Engelmann spruce. There it is. Many of the mushrooms I love grow in the Engelmann spruce. I really like the forest. The Engelmann tends to grow at a much higher elevation. It often is with the subalpine fir. They're often right together. One of my favorites to hunt. The other one that I like to chase is this grand fir, a little smaller range on the grand fir, but it's a wonderful tree that morels and spring porcini certainly love to associate with. Let me see if I have any questions in here. Yeah, Krista said you were surprised to run into some nice patches of tomatosa and lodgepole. I think especially I've been listening to, if you know Robert Underwood, he's a real expert on this. He's been telling me more about the tomentosas and the lodgepoles, and it sounds like it's quite a thing, even though we haven't had a lot of experience for the tomentosas and lodgepole. Now that I think about it, in the places we've been in Montana and Idaho, where there have been a lot of firs around, there's also been a lot of pines around. So maybe we were just ignoring the pines. But yes, pines can be pretty good for tomentosas. All right, so lots of trees. I'd love to hear if there's more trees or species you want. Let me know, and I will try to chase them down and add them in here. Because it seems like, especially if you're interested in a weird or special or a certain type of mushroom, it's the tree maps that really, really help you find those mushrooms. Okay, so we got a Monterey cypress. Yeah, I will write that down right now, and I will put that on the list. For sure. And again, if you have any more, you can also click in here, remember, and click in and put request a feature and request it that way, and I'll monitor and get to it. Um, Excellent. Um, let's see. So that was the trees. Let me just back out of the trees now. Oops, I backed out too far. And we're still looking at kind of nature here, I think. What we have, the final bit of nature for us to look at is going to be the topo tools. Um, now there's four in here. The one that I use the most, what did I do? Let me just reload this. I feel like I just broke something there. Let me come back and go to topo tools and hit elevation range focus. And it's already on. But basically what it does is it lets you pick an elevation range. So say you're in Idaho right now and you're looking for, tomentosas, or you're in, Oregon and you're looking for spring porcini, or whatever it is. There's any gamut. That's what you'd be looking for now. But as the season progresses, you certainly will be looking for other things at other elevations. So I might just put in, I'm looking for land from 5,000 to 6,000 feet in elevation. And I'm going to turn that on. Yep, I'm going to apply it. And what it does is it actually grays out all this stuff outside of that range. So then you can zoom in and you can focus and you can adjust that opacity if you don't want it to be too obnoxious. But I use it so now I can look in here and go, oh, there's like a really nice stretch of this elevation range right here that I can follow and get into this spot right here might just be exactly what I'm looking for. And then you can come back and you can maybe go to your favorites and you can turn on the forest type. Um, Okay, we're going to let that load for just a minute. There's the forest type. And remember, like, oh, now the forest type is on top of the topo map. I might just have to come down here into the topo tools and I'm going to favorite it and turn it back like that. And now you have underneath the elevation range, you have the forest type being lit up to help you find the right forest type. So you can combine these, and that's why this is called a range focus. Now I'm going to turn that off. The opposite of that, let me go back and turn off the forest type too. The opposite of that is going to be down here, the range finder, which is going to allow you to pick an elevation range. We can do 4,000 to 5,000 again. And it does the opposite. It actually fills that range with this gradient. And now you can see, for instance, up here, there's a big area that is in that range. The problem with this and why I usually use the other one is because this one like obscures the range. The other one obscures everything but the range. So really two different uses for the same type of data. And again, you can turn that down if that helps you. The slope visualizer is going to help you find the slopes that are easy to walk on. And if you look at this, in this over here on the left on the legend, the yellow is okay. But once you start getting into gold and orange and brown, it gets pretty hard. So as you look at this map, you're probably going to want to avoid a lot of these areas. They're going to be really steep. So you can use this to find areas that are generally less steep and are generally going to offer you easier hiking. Now, that's the slope visualizer. The aspect visualizer works the same way, and that just helps you find north versus south. So here's a big set of northerly facing. It's green, it's dark green, there's some blue for east in there, there's some yellow for northwest, but the south facing is up here. So you can just quickly visualize it. And the reason I added this was you can get this data in the topo maps. The problem is you kind of like squint and squint and look, and you're always trying to figure it out. Where here you can just turn it on and see the slope. Krista said, is there any way of adding a layer with the info places like wilderness study put together, mapping the potential public lands up for sale in the latest iteration of the big bill? Oh my gosh, Krista, yes, that's so sad. Let's not get into the politics of it now. Certainly we are opposed to that, and we want to protect our public land. But I think we're ready for that. Now we've talked about habitats. Your question, let's use that to segue into kind of man-made artificial map elements. And public access is going to be a big one. We have added two discrete ones. And I think next week, I think we're adding, here we have national parks and wilderness areas all lit up. We're adding BLM, we're adding Forest Service, we're adding Fish and Wildlife, we're adding we're adding state, and we're adding local, which could be city and county. So each one will have their own color, and you can light them up subsequently if you want to see that, kind of who the land manager is of this public land. And if you click on any of it, in fact, it will tell you who the land manager is. This is a wilderness area. It's the Alpine Lakes Wilderness. It's 414,000 acres, and I have a little description of it. So this will help a little bit. Let me turn that off though. This public access though has everything. And I hesitate, I like it. Let me turn it on here. It has everything in it that's public access. The problem is it's very brute force. So in here, you basically have three colors, green, teal, and then this white closed area. And a restricted, and you can click on any of these. You can't really tell what they are. So if I click on this, it's going to pop up and tell me this is a restricted access area. It's the Mount Rainier Wilderness, and it's managed by the National Park Service. If I click over here, it pops up and it says, I don't know how to say that very well. Snoqualmie, please. And I said that totally wrong, didn't I? National Forest, and it's an open access area. So this map will show you the all the public land. This is called the PADUS map, PADUS, and it has the public access designations for all the land across the entire continental and also non-continental U.S., the Alaska. Um, there's a lot of data. I'm going to zoom back in. This is actually one of the harder maps for us to load. It has so much data in it, but there it is. So I don't know if that answers your question, Krista. I think this is what's on the table. However, there is a lot of stuff mixed in here. Oh, the other one we're adding to these maps, we're also adding tribal lands that are managed. So that will be another one of the options, and wilderness lands, which are there already. Any questions on that? Oh, yeah, Kristen, are you going to put the link in there on, can you put the link in there on the public land sale for everybody? Um, the Conservation Committee of NAMA just sent out an email with some extra information in it too. That's the North American Mycological Association with links to some of the good resources if you want to learn about this weird and horrible situation with federal land, whether it's wilderness or BLM, we don't know. National monuments, national parks could be put up for sale. In fact, is required to go on sale. I think several million acres are required. Thanks, Krista. We're getting, if you don't have it, I think you're on that committee too. We're getting the link in there. There it is. Okay, that link is in the chat for everybody that wants to check it out. Keep asking any questions. I'm kind of drawing through here. I'm hoping to kind of wrap here soon because I didn't want to take up a lot of your time, but I really did want to show you how these different features work and how you can use them for mushrooms. I think the public land access is a really useful item for your mushroom hunting, and the reason is, especially as you're out in the forest, you've noticed there's often public and private land very intertwined, and this will allow you to stay in a designated pickable area, as well as kind of learn more about who manages it so you can see what the specific rules are for that area. Now, the other challenge, I think, yeah, I'll wait on that. I want to show how to go offline. I want to do offline maps. Yes. Um, Give me just a second, Rob. Um, Before I do that, I have roads and trails and logging. Let me just hit those real quick. Okay, Rob. Logging has 5 years of logging data in it that will show you. I'll turn on a few more. Come down here. We'll show you logged areas because logged areas can be important for mushrooming. So those are in there. We update those every year with the newest data set. And we have roads and trails finally. The U.S. Forest Service trail map will come in here. We'll show you all these mostly walking trails that are in here. Now you should be able to click on this. I might have to check that feature. That should pop up and tell you the name of the trail and details about the trail. Maybe I'm not zoomed in enough. Let me just do that real quick. No, I got to check that feature. That should tell you the name of the trail. So that's the Forest Service trails. So that's handy. And then the motor vehicle routes. These do not appear everywhere. These are generated. Each Forest Service generates its own motor vehicle usage map, the MVUM, and they make those available on the public data repositories, so we can access this. And presumably, this, as you zoom in, you can see it rendering. There's a full legend over here. This is presumably, if it's available for the space you're looking at, which is probably 85% of the forests have these maps in them now, are probably the most accurate and up-to-date maps. They do a pretty good job of annually removing roads from them. And sometimes you'll get in here and you'll see roads that are not on them, and that are closed. So I like to look at this to do my kind of initial plans on where I'm going to drive into an area because I have more confidence in this particular road map. Now, it doesn't show roads that are gated or closed necessarily due to temporary reasons. These maps are only supposed to be made once a year, and I think a lot of these Forest Service units make them only every couple years. But that's still more often than the other base maps, which are often only redone every 5 or 10 years at the most or at the soonest. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Offline maps. So there is a little video on the tutorial page, like 90 seconds, showing you the offline maps. Let me try. Oh no, get my iPhone connected here. Give me just a second, and I will connect that up. You'll have to bear with me for a second. It timed out. I wasn't using it apparently enough. Uh, we'll try that again. Yeah, just bear with me a hot second here, everybody. Okay, that should do it. Okay. So I'm going to switch the screen sharing over to the iPhone view, and we're going to cross our fingers that our technology works as it should. Okay, so there you should be able to see um, the iPhone version. Notice, please, now I've got 4 favorites in here. It synced up my desktop to my iPhone version, and these are the 4 that I just was working on with everybody just now. Okay. Now it also has a couple of other layers on. That one right there is that soil layer. The soil, so I'm going to turn that off. Okay. And it looks like there's another layer on, I think the roads and maps layer. I have that on too. Okay, now that we got caught up. So you want to talk about this save offline. So what we're going to do is we're going to go find a fire. I'm gonna open up Oregon A fires and hit OK. And I'm going to zoom in here. And I'm going to zoom in on this fire right here, just because. Now to save offline, you see this, hopefully you can see my cursor, right? You see this little down facing arrow right here? That's the save offline. As you zoom further out, it's yellow. And if you click on it, it will tell you, please zoom in further. You're trying to download too much. So we'll zoom in a little more. There, it turned orange. I can just get the whole fire in there. And then you hit download, and it will let you download currently 2 base maps. I'm working on satellite right now. I hope to have that ready here in the next couple days, a satellite map, and you can download the basics on the wildfire. We will be adding some more overlays in here as well. But that's what you get now. Certainly you can just do a base map too if you're going somewhere offline but don't have a fire there. This works there as well. So I'm going to call this the test fire. I don't remember the name of it. And hit save. And what that's going to do is download that to my computer, or in this case, my iPhone, so that when I go offline, I have a version that works offline. And it's going to take a hot minute here to do. We did a pretty big map, and we're pulling in several downloads. But then what happens is when you go offline, your GeoForager app would say you're in offline mode right now. I'm going to hit close. No, I guess I'm not going to hit close. It doesn't let me on this version here. And it's going to let you go into offline mode. And when you're in there, you're going to see all your maps. So I'm going to just show you that over here while we're downloading. Whoops. Give me just a second on that. Okay, so over here, if we click here and do offline maps, it's going to show you the offline maps that you have saved. So I've saved 4 different fires, and you can delete them and you can update the name, and it will show you what you downloaded in this map. I have 2 base maps and all 3 of the overlays. And then when you're offline, when it says you're in offline mode because there's no cell phone signal, you just go to this area and you click go to map, and it will go right into that map for you. Now I'm not in offline mode right now. And then those options for that map will be available. Now, right now, all the options are available because I'm not in offline mode. I can't put this in offline mode while I'm on this call with you because then I would lose the call. So I can't truly demonstrate this. However, that's where they are. If you save it into offline mode, just go click in here and click offline mode when you lose your cell phone signal and pick the map that you want to have that you want to use. Yeah, I think you can have 5 or 6 maps downloaded right now. That's the max. I don't see any reason why we won't open that up to more like 10 or 12. It's your iPhone space, so we probably don't need to protect that too much. But yeah, we do limit the number of maps. We don't want people to get in too much trouble. I think the other feature we need on this, frankly, too, is we need you to be able to download it on your desktop and have it sync to your phone. So I think that's probably coming up pretty quick here as a feature. We call it the sync feature, where it will sync into your phone. So if I come back now, that download finished meanwhile. So I'm just gonna click on the share button here. And I'm gonna go back to our iPhone. Here it is. And now when I click in here and go to offline maps, there's that test fire. There's that map I just downloaded. And I can upload the name, or I can just go to the map and there it is. Now, right now, all the overlays still work because I'm not in offline mode, but it will clearly say you're in offline mode. And then when you click your overlays, only those 3 overlays you just chose and those 2 base maps will actually be available. Okay, so that's pretty cool. How would it sync? Well, Callan, the way it would sync is they would sync while you're offline. So if you sat here tonight and downloaded on your desktop some place you're going to go tomorrow, as soon as you opened up your phone, it would start syncing into your phone. Which, by the way, that's also how apps like Gaia and Onyx also work. So no, it cannot sync while you're offline, but it will allow you to kind of prepare ahead of time and do it on your desktop and then just open it on your phone and it'll start working and within 2 minutes you'll have everything synced up. So that's how that works. Do the GPS locations work on offline maps? Uh, Jamie, I don't know the question to that. I think you mean the long lat location. Certainly the one that shows you where you are, the little show me where I am button right down here. That one totally works when you're offline. Yes. However, when you click on this and you get this to pop up, I think the elevation pop, or excuse me, the lat long pops up, but this elevation data right here does not pop up. Look at that, how low. I'm at right now, I'm between 0 and 33 feet above sea level right now, personally. Um, that will not show when you're offline, but this lat long characteristic will. Uh, Calvin Glass, I thought you were trying to maps are stored. No, we only store the maps that you have specifically decided to save offline. And I think they're set up to save up to, like I said, 5 or 6 maps, and they're set up to be stored for 30 days. Um, yep, and that's how you get around the file sizes. They're not that big. Part of it is that's why, Colin, when we did this, that's why right now it's gold. You can't do it. It's such a big area. It just takes too long to download, which is why, it doesn't light up and let you download until you zoom in that close. And that's to keep you from like overreaching and downloading, a whole state, which would bog up your iPhone for 6 hours and then probably kill it because you used all its space. No, Jamie, the other ones are not available. We only have those 5 available right now. We will be working on adding more of the maps in offline mode over time. That's a fairly new feature. We've been working really hard on offline mode. It was harder than we thought to build. for quite a while. So now we're starting to add new ones. I'm going to focus on base maps right now. I'd like to get a satellite map up next. Um, and I think we probably aren't, you asked about precipitation. Probably precipitation is very low on the order list. And the reason is the precipitation map, like the soil moisture and the soil temperature maps, are very time bound. Like they update all the time. So to save one offline so you can use in the future is really not high on our priority list because you want something that's more up to date typically. So that particular map is at the very bottom of the list of the ones that we're going to make available for offline saving. I think ultimately, though, there's no reason why we can't have all the maps be set up to be saved offline. Um, so we'll prioritize. If there's any you really want to see that are important to you, just pop it in the feature request, and we can endeavor to kind of bump that up the priority list. And again, to repeat, the priority list right now is the satellite map, some of the topo maps that are also base maps. Um, I think the forest type map and the elevation rangefinder are the other two that are pretty high priority right now. And yes, you can, yeah, you can see yourself in the burn when you use this little locator right here. You can follow yourself around as you move. Also, certainly by, I don't know, Labor Day, we're going to have the ability for you to track yourself as you move, and we're going to let you add markers as well. That's like the next big punch list we'll be working through probably in the next 60 days is the ability to create a track to see where you've been and save it and to add markers. So that'll be our next big push. So I think we're getting near the end. Let me just stop on sharing that screen, which was the iPhone version. I think we've worked through most of the base maps. We've shown you how to navigate through here. Unless anybody has any specific questions, which I certainly would love to answer, I think we're ready to kind of call it an evening here. Oh, let's see. I lost the chat. There's a specific, Kristen said there's the chat. Okay. Let me look. A question about a map of fire in California. Let me try to answer it. I'm not seeing it yet, though. Krista, you can report bugs from the iPhone app too. Yes, please report those. The secret is as soon as it happens, if you have to restart it, report the bug immediately because we're getting your log files. And if you do a bunch of stuff after you have a problem, we can't see what caused the problem. So yes, please share those. Um, I'm sorry, if there's a question about a California fire, I am not seeing that in here. Oh, it's in the Q&A. I see. Thank you. There's at least one. Can you find the calend in the chat and about the California park fire near the so what is that one, Callan? Let me find. You had a question about a California park fire. Can you type that in again? And I'm gonna go load up this fire layer here. Yeah, Callan, Zoom doesn't let you cut and paste, I don't think. So I'll load this up meanwhile though. So we'll go here and we will look at California. And I'll go ahead and open all the fires in California for this year in anticipation of your question. Okay, here we go. Callan said, you tried for the first time to look for burn rails last weekend with no luck. Uh-oh. You drove up to the park fire in California near Lassen National Forest and stayed near Mill Creek. Why didn't you have luck? So let's take a look at let's take a look. What fire? Park fire. There it is. Okay, so in this fire, certainly the highest elevation areas I think are up here. And I'm just going to drop into my base map, and I'm gonna hop into Caltopo because I can see those pretty easily in here. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. That would help, wouldn't it? Let me share the screen. Uh, can't find the screen share button. There we go. Okay. Hopefully that works for you guys. You can see my screen now. Here's the park fire. And you can tell by looking here at this map where the green represents forest and the white doesn't. You can tell where the forest is. Um, you can you might start by looking at the elevation range focus, and I'm going to up it. I'm going to take it to 4,000 so that everything in this fire except in these, there's a lot that's below 4,000. Let me take it up to 6 here. So this is probably the area you're going to want to be in California this late in the season. Now, I don't know if that's where you were, Callan. Um, and that's because right now we're mid to late season. You're going to want to be at the highest elevations. I don't know that California has been doing really well recently. However, um, because of just of the sheer seasonality, this is when you're going to want to be, 6,000 feet probably and above this late in the season in California. And you've had a lot of dry weather, I believe. So you're probably going to also need to focus on north facing slopes. You're going to want to look for gullies. An east or west gully has a north facing side with water and moisture flowing down it. They can be very productive. So you might look at gullies that run east to west or one that's on a north facing slope as well. Okay. Are you guys seeing my screen okay? Yeah. You were right at so you were right up here at this really high elevation, huh? Yeah, and I'm curious, Colin, did you note were there any like cut stems up there? Did you see any sign of other mushrooms having grown? Was it really dry up there? I would want to, I would hopefully you'll find kind of shadier bits in the forest where there's like brown duff on the ground holding in the moisture and some shady tree cover above it to also hold in moisture. All these things are about holding in moisture because in California it dries really fast as you go from May into June and everything dries up. The air is so dry that really the number one factor is rain and moisture. I think dryness kills the season before heat does potentially. So yeah, I don't really have any great answers for you. I have not seen a lot of people slaying mushrooms in California, burn morels. It seems like Oregon and Idaho and certainly Montana and Wyoming are coming up, and Colorado's been doing really well. Um, but I don't get the sense that California is really hopping right now. So it might just be the season's over. Um, yeah, let's look at the morale probability overlay there. Sure. Thank you, Jamie. Boom, we'll turn that on. So there it is. So you've got a lot of yellow, which is good. You've got a lot of light green and medium green, both of which are good. Both of those indicate that you have a north facing flattish forest with good tree cover. So I think a lot of these areas look like they would be pretty good. I might just pop the burn severity. Sometimes these areas right here that are real purple are not going to be good. Especially when it's dry because they've been burnt so hard, they're going to be too sunny. So you're going to probably want to look over here at the burn severity where it says unburned or low severity. The green or the yellows are probably going to be the most productive areas. Yeah, you didn't see the other thing, Colin, you didn't see you didn't see like orange cups popping up and other little mushrooms, which can also be an indicator that it's dry, uh, kind of dry out even for the morels. So yeah, I don't have a great answer for you there. Let's next. So we looked at the burn severity. Let's pop in and we looked at that. Let's pop in and just take a quick look at the precip for that area. And usually what I'll do there is I'll turn them all on. 7 days. Okay. So here we are with, let me zoom back in there. Okay. So if we turn on the 7 to 14 day and turn it up, it looks like there was some pretty good, an inch, an inch of rain with more as you in this area, which was a little heavier burnt. But it looks like you got some decent rain up in some of these areas with, well, 3/4 of an inch in that 7 to 14 days and none in the last 7 days. So you've got 3/4 of an inch in the last 2 weeks is pretty bare. Um, and I think the snow melted off of that area. I think the snow melted off of there like 2 months ago. I think so. I think even the snowmelt buffer, which is going to bring a lot of moisture into an area and protect it from a dry spell. So we see like in Oregon or Montana, or let's start with Oregon, where we haven't had a lot of rain in the last month. We still have areas that are under snow with a lot of snowmelt, and they don't really care that it hasn't rained in May because they were underneath snow. Let's just real quick just pop one more on here. This is the 15 to 30 day. So, gosh, between, it looks good. The morale probability, the burn severity, the elevation, the trees, everything looks pretty nice up in this area. However, the precipitation looks bad, and the proof is in the pudding. You went and looked, which is really what you got to do. I would say if you go again, really focus on dark forest, look for wet areas, look for creeks, look for things that have north-facing slopes. Avoid south-facing slopes and get to the highest elevations. That's probably where you're going to do the best. Um, it's interesting too, by the way, California is kind of known that I feel like older second, third, and even fourth year burns do often produce in California. So I don't think now's the right time. But next year too, pay attention to some of the older burns. I think it's the disturbance morels, especially the Marcellus nideri, will pop up in a lot of these older burns in California. And usually in the California groups, the Facebook groups, we see more people sharing pictures from older fires than we do in other states for some reason. Oh, you said you drove 12 minutes away and was in an area covered by snow. I'm curious, was that snow though? Was that melting downhill into the fire? Let's just take a quick look at. We didn't look at that, but let's pull the snow depth. So there's your snow up there, and it is not close enough to probably impact that fire though. All right. Thanks, Colin. Sorry I didn't have a definitive answer, but morels are a guessing game at the end of the day. You got to put your feet on the ground. You got to go visit, and even if you get skunked, hopefully you can learn from it and be better next time. Yes, I did show logging maps real quickly. Um, I think the logging map season is over though. That'll be for next year, and logged areas in Northern California are very popular and abundant with morels. So you'll want to probably check those out next year too. I think California is really an earlier game. I love mid to late season hunting, and it's awesome, especially in Oregon and Idaho and Montana and maybe Wyoming, Colorado, Utah. But early season, Arizona, California, they tend to pop up earlier, and because of the dry weather, finish earlier. All right. Ooh, yeah, a few kings coming up at the Calder fire. Nice. All right, guys, if we don't have any more questions, I'm going to say let's wrap this. Thank you, everybody. Good night. And tomorrow night, we are going to do a full webinar on mid and late season burn morels and talk real specifically and go look at some fires on how to target those. Thanks, everyone. Good night. Good night. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Kathleen, Rob. Much appreciated. All right. Bye-bye.